we're going to talk about early stage startup becoming monster entrepreneurs who break through. I have an amazing founder on for you today, which I had the great privilege of being able to invest in a little while ago. I'm going to talk to you about Kaira. Eric's going to talk about the company, how it started, how the company built. But I want to use the opportunity whenever I have a phenomenal founder that I bring on the show, whether it's one that I invested in or not. I always like to take the lesson that that founder has, which they have in spades, which got them past the impossible part of early stage startup. And there are always a number of things to choose from. Like all of you know, as you're building a startup, it all comes down to how good is your product. There are okay products with incredible brand which can break through. There are incredible products with bad brands that don't break through. But you need to at least start from a place of having a good product, or it's extremely difficult. That's number one. Number two, brand that I just mentioned is very important as well. There are some people who are amazing at building messaging around brand. I remember my friends over at Science when they built out Dollar Shave Club, and when they also built out the incredible Liquid Death. That was all brand. Neither of those were good products, but incredible brand. And then we have outreach. You have to have incredible outreach. If you're not outreaching to the market and telling them what you are, what you can do, how you can transform them, then you can't build your partners, you can't build your affiliates, you can't build your customers, you can't build your enterprise customers, you can't do any of those things. And then, of course, there's building your domain dominance or building your influence. And we think of that as epic productions that allow you to build up your own personal brand, that then allows your personal brand in servitude of your business brand to be able to build you up as well. Then we have peak performance. Now, peak performance is mindset, clear communication, and also the ability to have clear decision making that you have built in there as well. Then there's another piece. The other piece is being investment proficient. If you are not able to communicate how good you are on investment, then you're wasting your time. There's absolutely nothing you can do. You got to make sure the world knows why you are the one, as Neo said. So investment is obviously a really big, important part of it as well. And look, then there's another bunch of sub things which fit in here, but they're the main core. If you have the right product, you have the right messaging, you're telling enough people, you're building up your domain expertise, which is reducing your cost of acquisition, and then you have the right mindset to be able to break through, you're okay. Now, this entrepreneur that I'm going to bring on today is a master when it comes to resilience. Master, master, master. Because what happens at the beginning of every founder is exactly the same. I don't care if you have a good product. I don't care if you have good messaging. I don't care about the outbound. You are still going to go through hell. Unless your mommy or daddy are very wealthy and you got a little trust fund and your trust fund is paying for everything that you can do, then you are going to go through hell. It's just the way. This period of time that you go through is normally a 2 to a 3 year period of hell. There are some companies like Airbnb who went through 5 or 6 years of hell. I know companies that have gone 8 to 10 years of hell, but I also know companies that are broken through very quickly. And it's life, right? It's not always down to the fact that you're better, not always down to the fact of the product. It's just life. It's all of the components in the engine working together at the same time to be able to go through. And so as you are breaking through, the necessity to have a strong resilience to all of the horrible things that are coming at you is absolutely paramount. Like, think about it. You're so dirt poor, and it's worse, especially if you're a little bit older. When I say a little bit older, you're over the age of 25, right? It means that you've already enjoyed the fruits of having a little bit of money in your pocket. And now you're going to go into startup, which means you're going to have no money in your pocket. Not only are you going to have no money in your pocket, you are going to go deeper and deeper and deeper into debt. You're going to start with your credit cards, then you're going to go to your friends, then you're going to go to your mom if your mom didn't come before your friends, and you're going to squeeze every bit of juice out of that lemon until your back is so hard against the wall that you are wondering what the hell was your stupid ass thinking starting off this company and going so deep into debt when there were so many other things you could do. Weaker souls at that moment break. I would even say semi strong souls at that moment break. It is only the absolute strongest. Because I mentioned to you the financial side of it. It's not just the financial side of it, it's the emotional side of it as well. If you're in a relationship, your partner, even if they are the strongest partner in the world from a support perspective, they are going to question. If you have kids, your kids are going to start wondering why you can't buy them anything for Christmas or for anything else. It goes on. And so the challenge that happens there is when you're under so much pressure, it becomes really hard to do the thing that you want to do, which is make clear decision making all day long so you make the right decisions. And you also want to be able to communicate those decisions. And it's extremely difficult to do that because all you can think about are the horrible things that are happening to you on a minute by minute basis. So, what can you do as a founder to get yourself into a place where you actually have the right resilience? Well, look, I'm going to start. I want to kick off the conversation with Eric, and I want to go through there. And then we're going to go through Kaira. We're going to look at like why it's so transformational, why it's so good, why they're now getting investment from investors at a time when most folks are really struggling to be able to do so. But we're going to start on the resilience piece. Yo,
Hi,
Eric.
how are you?
Good to see you, buddy. You're representing well. You got Kaira there
Yeah,
behind you.
working hard on that.
Your virtual background alive and well, like
Yeah,
myself.
exactly.
It's good. Good to be on the
I
show.
thank you so much for having me today. And I listened to the story you explaining about founders. It's kind of so close to my heart. So thanks for having me today.
Yeah, because we do this for I think a lot of people outside look at founders. By the way, I say this all the time. I just happen to make money from VC, but I'm a founder like anyone else. Like when you found an accelerator or you find a VC firm and you build it up and you hire people. But actually, let me just rephrase it. When nobody pays you, you're a founder. Okay. When you have to actually do really well and succeed and to exit something, you're a founder. So whether it's Erica, whether it's me, like we go through this
Yeah,
journey. And for people outside, I think they look at entrepreneurship and they're thinking, "Oh man, these guys make like tons of money. This is great." And at the beginning, it's the opposite. Like we do this because there's something very big to be built, which needs to be built. And if we don't build it, then it's not going to get built, and that's not acceptable
yeah,
to us. But can we, before we go into Kyra and like what you've built and where it is, can we start like in that stranger place of resilience? Because I remember like as you came in and you were like building, building, building,
yeah,
building, and then you and I are having conversations. You're like, oh man, this is freaking hard. Like I need to get money in because we need to pay people. Like you can't magic that away. You can't mindset that into a good
yeah,
place. Like they need the money, and you absolutely fought through like a
yeah.
madman to get through on the other side, and then you got through. But maybe like just share with us a little bit on your words for entrepreneurs who are listening, especially on just on how the mind works as you're going through this
Yeah, maybe
process.
I'm gonna start say so later. Say earlier on, I started Kaira in 2018. I was working, like you said, in a large financial institution in Quebec. I'm in Canada, making good money. At one point, I left the company, changing the structure that's happened in the financial world. And that's when I decided to say I need to do something and I want to take control of my life. One thing is, as a manager in a bank, I was seeing people struggling with money. So when I left, I said, doesn't make sense to don't have anything to offer to our employee. It's the art and brain of our solution today, and companies, and we need to invest in them. So that's why I decided to go through that crazy path. I was lucky to have a wife that supported me from the beginning, and I would say I wouldn't be here today if she wouldn't if she wasn't there. She supported me from the beginning because, like you said, I wasn't making any money at one point, and she was supporting me. I was lucky to have a wife that was kind of have a good salary and believe in what we are trying to build. And with ups and downs, went through all that. say we're providing a financial wellness platform for employers, for their employees, and COVID happened also. So say you said life happens. That's one of the things that happened also. So instead of investing new benefit for employees, they were just trying to keep their own employees today. So during 2 years,
Yeah.
we decided to refocus on continuing to build our solution and update that solution to make sure that we're going to have a better product and at one point have a better impact with our with those companies and employers. Once that went through, also at the same time, so you said I was lucky to have friends, family, my mother and father that were convinced of what we were doing. So they invested very early on. Also put more mortgages on I have my house. So say during all those years, the story that you're telling, it's exactly what happened to me. I'm 55, so maybe the gray in my beard kind of saying it all of it. But it was kind of for me the best path and the right one to take. And I wouldn't change my life and my job for anything else. I have got the best job in the world, even if it's stressful every day. But I think that's where we are today. It's kind of paying off, and that's kind of a short of my story.
I love it. 55 is the best age, by the way. Up until one day ago or 2 days ago, I was 55. So
That's the best one.
that's gone now. That's like that ship has sailed.
Yeah, next
It'll
year for
never
me.
come back again. But yeah, so and what you talk about is like so important because there are entrepreneurs, a lot of them, I would say in the 90 percentile, who can't make it through that place that you made it
Yeah,
through, which is that you believe in the product, you're listening to the customer. You're not believing blindly in the product as you're building it. You're believing in what because of what customers are telling you. But you also know that to go from that place of customer product fit to actually receiving enough
yeah,
money to support the company, it's a journey. It's a journey for every
yeah.
founder because you don't have the money to spend it on marketing. How did you keep your mindset strong? Especially, I even remember the day when you like call me up and you're like, Brian, we did it. We just got like a really good investment in. We just got really good revenue in for the company, and it just felt like everything. It
Yeah,
seemed like an entire country's worth of weight was lifted
yeah,
off your shoulder in that
yeah,
time.
exactly.
But how did you? What were your own internal
Yeah, but
tricks to be able to keep yourself going in the
one thing,
meantime?
and you said you cannot fall in love with your product because you're not the right, I would say, audience on that. So you need to make sure that you're addressing a real need. Make sure that you are receiving feedback and working with users and partners to make sure that at one point you're generating a real value for all of those, us, but also them, because they are the one that are going to pay for the solution and offer that to their own customer or others. So falling in love with your product, I think, is the worst thing to do. You need to understand what you're doing. Say the why, start with the why. I think it's essential. What are you trying to achieve? What are you trying to tackle? And make sure that you're building something that's going to make sense for the one you're going to sell to. And that's the reason why also, and I'm going to do a small marketing for you, is that's when we saw real value of working with you. It's not yours, but I think that was the real reason why we decided to join you. Because one thing is, say, doing sales, I'm not on my X. I'm doing it. I'm doing it because I have the passion of the problem we're tackling. But at the same time, I need to work hard on myself because selling, even if I understand exactly what we're doing, because it's more than a company, it's also a passion. But at the same time, is I need to work on myself the way I'm doing sales, and that's the reason why we saw a real value working with you guys and specifically with you, Brian. But the same thing is, till we start selling our solution in 2022, we were able to have a huge company buying our product. And the beauty of it is we signed that contract in 3 days. I never was able to replicate that. It was a big one, a huge one. And that's the reason why we were lucky to have that companies and work with that to make sure that we were able to attract other companies at one point. That's kind of the main way we started it. At the same time,
You got that revenue. And the thing is, though, when you're in those meetings, and I think this is again what's happening inside. And when I mentioned to you, like what are the tricks and things you teach yourself? A lot of the time, like really good entrepreneurs who are very resilient don't even know the tricks.
Yeah.
It's how you were made, right? And I think there are some areas that I do say to people these days. I do say, look, if you can try and get some sleep, you should try and do it. The more tired you get at
Yeah.
night, like especially you can get up early in the morning. I was up at 4 o'clock
Yeah.
this morning and I feel great. I was in bed at nine
Yeah.
thirty, 10 o'clock last night, and that's okay. So now, okay, it's only 6 hours sleep. I should get 8 hours sleep, but I had a lot to get done this morning. So I was comfortable with that. But if I'd stayed up till 1 in the
Yeah.
morning and then I tried to get up at five,
It would
like
work.
you're going to kill
Yeah.
yourself. It doesn't work,
Exactly.
right? And so you have to be cognizant of that. I also think another thing as well, Eric, is you have to eat properly. Like like too many entrepreneurs kind of see this not for what it
Yeah.
is, but you're an elite athlete. Like you have to make sure that your body is taken care of. If the only thing you're doing all day is just eating Doritos and hot dogs and pizzas, then your body is going to react the way you would expect it
Yeah.
to react. So you have to treat it. So it's funny, not a lot of people talk about entrepreneurship like in this form, but it is the area that gives you the
Yeah.
fuel to be able to overcome everything that's happening in the
And
meantime.
I'm telling my team, so we have three bubbles: family, I would say, leisure, and work. I need to balance at one point. So say if you put 90% of your time on work, you're gonna lose the others, and at one point it's gonna have a real effect on you and your team and your company. So like you said, you need to take care of yourself. And saying the same thing to my team, because say losing me or losing someone else, I'm not say I'm one part of the equation in the company, and you need to take care of yourself so you'll take care of your company and your work and your team. So for me it's essential. So having 8 hours of sleep, that's what I'm trying to get every day. So because at one point, that's I know that that's gonna be the way I'm gonna be functional and productive also. So it's kind of eating is the, I would say, the bad part on my side. I need to work on that.
No, me too. Me too. Look, that's the thing is like it's not even about it's the great thing here is you don't need to be Djokovic, right? The great thing here is we just need to not be Homer
Yeah.
Simpson. And then on the other side of it is things like drinking a lot of water. Like water is good for us.
Yep.
We know that. Most of us are constituted, most of everything is constituted of water. And so drink a lot of water. It's irrefuted. This isn't like a cigarette
Yep.
advertisement in the 1950s. Water is good for you. You should drink as much as you possibly can. The other thing that I'll add in there as well is stimulation of the mind is very good. The moment you start locking yourself into a place and you're
Yep.
not watching what's happening on the outside and you're not reading books and you're not listening to podcasts and you're not making sure that you're staying up to date with what's happening in your industry, you're
Yeah.
gone. And so you have to incorporate a part of continually stimulating your mind over periods of time with what's happening in your industry. How do you do that yourself?
We're doing lots of research, and one thing is we're lucky because there's not a week or a day that someone is not publishing something about financial resilience, financial anxiety, and so we're kind of lucky in making sure that we have access to research and lots of things on that side. And it's true everywhere. It's not only true in Canada or North America. So what we're seeing is financial insecurity is something happening everywhere. And at one point, we'll have the capacity to cover all of those. So because what we've built is international. So,
Actually, I was going to bring up that comment, but I'm not. I'm going to talk about this for a second because it's really important. I had a politician. So a lot of the I'm pretty clear about like the area that we're good at and the areas that we always want to become better at, right? So emotional narrative is a thing that we're very strong at and have been strong at, I suppose, from the very beginning because it's an area that I'm very strong at and that I love very much. And so I will get approached personally by a lot of folks who are not startups, but they're kind of friends of
mhm.
friends of friends who want a favor. And like, I kind of need a favor. I like that person, or they did me a favor. And so I got to help out. So recently I had a chap who was brought over to me who's an aspiring politician in California. And he wanted to head out the Republican Party in California. And so he was talking initially, and I said to him, "Well, talk to me about you." And what I was really trying to get to is like, what is the transformational part
Yeah.
of you that is going to help people in California with the biggest problems that they're facing? And he said, well, I'm God fearing, and I'm like, well, you're obviously not that God fearing if you're going to use it as a political thing. And then he said, well, I came from like a poor background. And I'm like, well, I hate to break the bad news, but like, so did most
Yeah.
folks who are up there who are talking these days. So again, you've nothing there. And so then we started looking at like, what is the greatest challenge that is facing California today? And you'll remember, Eric, but we did this exercise with John McDonald back in the day. With John McDonald, I call it the Red Dragon. John is just a big, nasty, dirty, filthy enemy. That is the enemy of your consumer, right? And so we started to look at like, what is the big red dragon, the big nasty enemy of Californians, the thing that like hurts them so much that they can't even sleep at night. And after hours of going through all of the irrelevant things, such as like we want better education, we got to financial hopelessness. And financial hopelessness is actually, when you think about it, is a terrifying
Yeah.
term. And especially when he was coming up, or I was coming up, or between us, we had researched that there's something like 75 or 80% of all Californians who are financially hopeless. And this is not poor. Poor is okay, because you know what? We've had poor since the beginning of time. There will be poor people. Poor people will try and become wealthy people. Some of them will make it, some of them won't. And then we have other poor people who want to be poor and happy, but they're okay with that thing. Financial hopelessness is way sadder and worse than poor because of the implied term hopelessness. There is
Oh,
no
yeah, exactly.
opportunity.
They're not seeing a light anywhere in front of them.
And so isn't it funny? The thing you're saying to me is like exactly the same place I got to in the fifth wealthiest economy in the
Mhm.
world, representing about 80% of the people who are living in that
Oh, yeah,
economy.
totally.
I think the world is moving to a place of financial
Yeah.
hopelessness.
And one thing, there's a survey or research that was done, I would say end of February, that was kind of published in Canada. They did a research in the US and Canada to see what's the impact of everything that's happening right now with the economy. One thing that kind of came out is in Canada, 44% of people are living paycheck to paycheck. In the US, it's 57%. So that means that 57% of individuals don't have any money in case something bad happens, or even to prepare something in the future. So that's one of the things. When you are in that position, hope is difficult to achieve, because you're saying, what's going to happen if my car broke down? I don't have enough money to put food on my table. So that's kind of crazy. And it's just being worse every day and every month. So it's crazy.
It's
Yeah.
crazy. And then you take like the percentage of people who get divorced because of it. Actually, in many ways, life is starting to mirror startup
Yeah.
life, which is that like it's stress, compounding stress, compounding stress, compounding stress, which is why I'm so pleased that we're looking at this today. So like we've covered a few points, and then after that, I want to bring up what Kushi said here. And so we've covered, you want to make sure that you have enough sleep. You got to make sure your
Yeah.
mind is rested. If it's not, you're dead. It's impossible. You can't do it, right? Forget people who are saying, I worked 20 hours a day. Those guys are
Yeah, that's what I
idiots,
think also. I'm
right?
sorry about people listening right now, but if that's the case, there's something that's going to fall at one point. That's for sure.
Yeah, you're done. You're whatever way it's going to fall out, it's going to done. And by the way, because you're so proud of talking about working 20 hours a day, you're not going to tell everybody how it unwound, but I promise everybody it's going
Yep.
to unwind, right? You got to make sure you're drinking lots of water and lots of fluids. You got to make sure that you're keeping your mind very fresh and you're keeping up with things that are happening just outside your tiny little bubble that you're in right now. And you've got to make sure that you're eating and your just behavior and everything is fine. Just the two other areas I'm just going to add in here, which I think are really important, is do exercise. Like, and I mean, you could argue walking is okay, and maybe it is okay, but like, just do exercise. Make sure that your body's been given a workout. Like I forgot for a while, and I felt myself becoming less edgy with how I was approaching stuff. And then I just had a swim last week, and I felt great after a swim. It doesn't hurt your joints. Like you're okay, even if you're not someone who like wants to go for a run or wants to do something, which is going to be very hard, or cycling or just do something that just keeps your blood flowing in a really good way. And then the final thing is mindset, having a positive mindset on being able to break through when the facts are telling you
Yeah.
differently is not something that you just get
Yeah.
given straight away. You again have to be highly intentional about what mood that you want to be following on a particular day. And I don't believe in this stuff in isolation, but I really believe in this stuff when it comes to startup. You have your goal and your objective at the end. You have your stepping stones to get to that goal. You stay very clear as to what that goal is expected to be. You do the work at the beginning to make sure that the goal becomes a fait accompli and not just
Yeah.
something which is like a hope. And so, just thoughts on those, Eric, on just kind of again where you were with your mindset, where you were with staying fit while you were keeping everything going. Because again, I'll just repeat to everyone, the journey of getting to the place where you felt really secure with the company and you raised that money was it's even more difficult because it's in Canada, for goodness sake. And so you like but it's harder, right?
Yeah.
It's not that
Investor are more
because
kind of,
venture capital,
I would say, I'm
yeah,
uh, say venture, but I would say the venture is tough because they're not trying, and it's on my perspective. Taking risk, even for companies that are working hard on that, it's kind of even tougher in Canada. That's for sure. Yeah.
yeah, it's even tougher. But you did. Any thoughts on that? And then I
Yeah,
want to
but
jump
one
into
thing, and
fundraising.
I don't know if you want to talk about that. I tell you, we've been working together for a couple of years, and you know what happened in the last year. I don't know if you want to talk later on that, or it's part
Yeah,
of.
for sure. Please, let's dig
Yeah,
in.
so I'll tell you, I would say 1 year and a half ago, we started in the process of acquisition and so on. It went, say you said from the beginning, it's not a good deal. You shouldn't go there. We didn't listen. 4 months and a half after, it fell through and it didn't work. And it put us in our knees and it was very, very difficult. And take living stress, like you said, and trying to manage all the bubbles for me, one point was very difficult. And I decided to get help. And I'm not shy of talking about, yeah, I was living anxiety, lots of stress. I didn't have any tools to support me. And by myself, I was isolating myself and it didn't work well. So I went to the doc and I would say for the last year, I'm taking pills to help me in stress and anxiety. I never took those pills, but it was necessary because one thing happened also is I wasn't sleeping well. So if you stop having good night of sleep, always thinking about what should I do, what's going to happen, when you wake up in the morning, you're not up to it. And it's kind of something that's, it was very, very falling through and it didn't work well. So I've been on those pills for the last year, but one thing is help me see a little bit clearer, make sure that I kind of focus on the thing I need to do. And say, coming back to that deal that didn't work, we could have done two things, and that the conversation we had with you, I would say last year, almost 1 year from now, and you say we could kind of crawl under our desk and cry and say it's the end of the world, or say take everything that we did and take that and work towards our own goal and strategy. We work hard on that, and the last year I think we did great. We were 6, we're 14 now. We're seeing traction. We signed large contract with partners, I would say brokers in collective insurance and so on. So things are kicking well, and we were able to raise money because the strategy and everything that we work hard on the 4 months during that deal, we're able to kind of turn that and use that towards our own life and strategy.
Yeah, I think that's really nice. The thing with startup is, with the exception of Elon Musk, I think it's like having about 10
Yeah,
kids. It's just not what it's not what we
yeah,
were like. It wasn't part of the contract, right? We broke the contract. And startup is the
yeah,
same thing. Startup is saying, we're going to create something that the world has never seen before, it never existed before. We're going to make it, it's going to be in place, and it's going to be okay. And our body and minds are saying to us, no, this is not what we were contracted to do. and you're going to put us through like the worst stress in the world. And so what happens is our bodies come out of calibration. They just, most people do. And when they do, we have to fix them in some way. And so in some places, I think it's a little bit like cholesterol in some ways. Like for some people, you fix cholesterol by the way that you eat. And so in other people, you do it by the way that you eat, and maybe you'll have some pills as well. And from other people, that you'll change lifestyle and you'll change your eating and you'll change your pills as well. And what you have to do within startup, because it's such an extreme sport that we're playing, first of all, we have to acknowledge that we're playing it to
Yep.
ourselves. And second of all, we have to make sure that we align with our partners and our partnerships and people who are around us so we don't drive those poor people crazy. And the third thing is we have to work out what is going to be the thing that is going to allow us to perform at our
Mm,
best. And in your particular case, what it was, and look, the stuff I look at, I'll say, oh, that's terrible, and it's not terrible. And then I think it's not terrible, and it is terrible. But then there's other things which, from the outside, it kind of looks more obvious, right? And so, in the case of like that particular merger, I was worried about two things. I was worried about the first thing was the deal was quite a predatory deal, so it wouldn't have.
yeah,
I didn't feel that it would fit well for you. And I had seen other founders that we had go through the same process, and many of them did not finish in the same amazing place that you finished
yeah,
in. The second thing is that as a founder, the only thing that keeps us sane and keeps everything in check is our North Star.
yeah,
And the moment we move away from our North Star, it was like I had another founder. It's just being given an acquisition offer, which is an amazing acquisition offer. And I'm like, don't tell anybody. Don't tell your wife. Don't tell your kids. Don't tell your
yeah,
staff. Don't even tell yourself. What you say to yourself going home every single day is they are doing this to me to mess up my life. And I am going to show them that they will not mess it up by building a better, stronger company tomorrow. And then that way, the acquisition actually has a better chance of coming
yeah.
through. Because the moment you down tools, it's a thing. So I really appreciate you sharing it. I wouldn't have brought
I
it
don't
up,
mind because
but
it's
I think
part of
it's
my story and the story of Kaira, and I think it gave us the capacity to be where we are today. So say we learn every day,
yeah, and
and
it's the human story.
yeah,
Yeah, it's the human story, Eric. It's the real, like going on this journey. This is my point. Like when I say only the very strongest people can make it through the journey of early stage startup without being given tons of money at the start. Like I'm discounting anyone who gets $5 million
yeah,
from their mommy and daddy on their birthday so they can start off the company. Or I'm talking about real founders that are building real companies based on customers telling them that they love them. The journey just takes a couple of years. You have to allow for a couple of years. And the three things that have to happen on that is the first one is you have to be relentless at building customers, which is what Kaira have done. And they have built up now. We're going to talk about like the growth cycle in a moment, and we're going to talk about how that growth cycle has gone up and then how that aligns with perfect
yeah,
fundraising. The second thing you have to do is that second piece, which is fundraising. Like you have to make sure that you're finding people who are able to invest in the company, and you're doing that on all times. The good news is that there's lots of rich people in the world. The bad news is that most of them only want to invest in sure things. And so you have to bring them to where you are. And the final piece, which Eric has so eloquently said there, is that you have to take care of your mind as you're building through and you're navigating through raising the investment and also driving the revenue. You have to make sure that your mind is prepared for every single day that comes. So I love all of this, and I love that we've covered pretty much everything we could in it. Talk to us a little bit about the growth of Kaira. And actually, oh, sorry, before we go there, let me because I
yeah.
have ignored Kushi a bit. So alternative paths to fundraising to explore before we have traction or a warm network. I actually think Canadians are best at
Yeah, we're
this. I meet Canadians that have cap tables with like 120 people in there of like $5,000, $2,500, $9,000. And so I think Canadians are actually the best fundraisers in the world because it's not an automatic fundraising environment. So founders have to work 20 times harder to do it. So how would you answer
But
that?
what we did, we decided to open our cap table very later on in our path. So what we started doing is working with partners. One thing that we were able to do is sign partnership with people that were kind of believing what we were building. So their work we decided to we work with them and split half of that. We were paying their fees, and the other half we convert that in convertible notes, giving us the ability to reduce our costs. So that was one of the things we did early on with partners because we were starting from scratch. The second one is, I would say, working with friends and family. That's what we did. So we were able to raise, I would say, roughly between, say, in the beginning, $90,000 of friends and family. Now we're all around, I would say, 300,000 of friends and family, convertible notes, giving us the ability to have access to capital, but postpone the impact and the risk. Afterwards, in Canada, you said we're lucky we have luck.
By the
Go
way,
ahead.
just going back to friends and family, how did you navigate that path? Because it's a kind of it's a
Yeah,
double-edged sword on many ways. One side of it is nobody likes asking their
I know,
family for money. Like it's tough. And the other one is like nobody wants to lose
I
their
know.
family's money. And you're early. So talk to us about how those conversations
It
went.
was tough because I'm a proud person at one point, and having to have that conversation with my parents and even other friends, and that kind of there's a risk of putting them in a place where they could lose money. But it was always in my mind that if something bad happened, and that's what I decided to do, is I'm going to cover their loss. So that was my own personal choice. It's not maybe all of those founders that decided to do that, but it was my decision of there's a risk. I'm going to share that risk with them, knowing that that's not my goal. But if that happens, that's going to be my decision. And I was lucky because I had a wife supporting me through all that, and she was at the same place. So that's one of the reasons why I mitigate that risk for them, but also making sure that I can deliver on my promises. So that's kind of the way I did it in the past. With other partners, it was kind of the giving them the ability to be part of a journey, and all of those that started with us, they do believe in it, and they are still here today and still working with us. So that's also another good things. They said the opportunity, and if we're a $400 million valuation one day, they're gonna be paid for that because they take the risk at one point. So that's the way we did it. It's not a secret sauce, but that's kind of the reason why we're able to get those. The second one, you said in Canada, we're good, yeah, in raising some capital, but also we have lots of grants and programs subsidizing research and development and so on. So we're able to get, I would say, almost 1.2 million in 3 years of grants and subsidies. And depending on where you are, I think that's something that you should always look into because it doesn't cost anything. Some work, some time, but it's not equity, it's often not debt. So it's giving us the ability to build the solution and the project because we're in the right space from a tech perspective and so on. So I know that there's different program in the US across different states. I don't know in India because I saw lots of people are in India in the meeting today, but the goal is to look into those because there's lots of opportunity. And for us, it was real. And there are still partners with us, the government of Canada, government of Quebec, working with us, and because we're there and we delivered on the promises that we did with them. So that's another way. And we decided, I would say, 1 year and a half ago to open our capital. So we work with banks with debts. That's kind of the way we did it, trying to decrease that now and working with investors. So you were there. We work with angel investor, and the last year after the crisis, we're able to raise almost 1.1 million with angels, and also a larger investor. So that's where we are. I don't know if I answered the question.
Amazing, because I think you've gone down the road of grants, of which there's tons of grants in the United States, and also even a startup pitch
Yeah,
competition where there's a $10,000 prize. Like that's a grant of
totally.
sorts, right? That will answer questions both on how good your product is and also
Yeah,
tie that into what you can actually get on the other side
I'm
for it
still
as
doing
well.
those. I had
One
one
of
in
the
a month,
things,
so I'm still pitching in those conferences.
yeah, amazing. And so the only things I would just say is like just to summarize what Eric said there is first of all, make sure people who know you best are the first ones who are able to invest. And it could be your friends or your family. I've had folks who, like, when I always remember, I've mentioned it before, when Duncan for Veggie Dome was raising for Veggie Dome, which was really just a glass container to keep vegetables into, but it kept them fresh. He got his investment from a guy he went to high school with. And Duncan was 65 when he went after this. And he raised $1 million from this guy. And the guy just happened to be a dentist. Now his wife had died. They didn't have any kids. And he wanted to make sure that like his world of the teeth of this world are decaying actually became a better place. And he was part of it. So it was in a moment of his life that was perfect. There's 8 billion people on this planet. There's a lot of people out there with money. There's a lot of people in the perfect headspace for you. Go after the people who've known you your entire life. Tell them what you're doing and tell them how they can make money. Then go after the people in the industry who know your industry better than anybody else. If I speak to a ton of people who are investors about Expert Dojo being a great investment decision, then they're going to be fine. Expert Dojo is going to be a great investment decision because I know investment, unless it's not, which is fine because we only want them to invest if it is a great investment decision. And then the third group of people are people who are just prolific at investing in your space. They may not know your space incredibly well. They may not be like financial advisors or people who have a strong financial knowledge within your product versus other products. But they will be people who understand how to invest. And you should be outreaching relentlessly. It should be not 50% of your day, but it should be 20% of your day, which means you should be outreaching to at least 5, 10, 15, 20 people every single day. If you're not, then you're not outreaching to enough people.
Exactly.
Okay. I love it. Talk to us a little bit about Kaira going forward. So you've raised some really good money for Kaira. You've brought in some early customers. Where do you feel we're going to end up this year on revenue?
We're targeting around 1 million of revenue. So it's an increase of, I would say, from last year because it was a tough year, 1,000%. So that's kind of where we are. The contract and conversation we're having right now are good. And we're coming back from that kind of thing that happened last year. So we were able to sign a partnership and acquire technology with license in North America, giving us the capacity to increase our network and our solution. So we're going to provide end of July the capacity to build a retirement plan in a couple of seconds and coach people towards those goals and financial well-being. Hopefully end of this year and beginning of next year, we'll be able to create financial planning because life happens. You have a specific plan in your life. You have your own contacts, your own behaviors, and we'll need to support those, knowing that in Canada, but something similar in the US, 80% of individuals don't have an advisor or a financial planner. So they have objectives, they have needs, they need to be supported and guided, and they're left by themselves. So, and that's where with the new technology, we're going to have the capacity to be there with the overall financial life of an individual.
Amazing. And that is, so you've all got an idea as to what Kaira actually does, why it's so important, how it's growing. You can also see now that the investment conversations are much easier when you're talking about like 1,000% increase. Now people can see a product that's soaring. And then how do you go forward from $1 million this year to where you would go in 2027 and 2028 and 2026 and 2027?
So we're seeing, because one thing that we're going to have the ability is to help people acquire product. One thing is coming back to what we said, we're providing a financial wellness solution for employees being provided by the employers. It's an app, but also we're giving the employer an overall view of what's happening in the team life. We're not sharing any personal information because an individual don't want to share with his employer that he cannot pay his mortgages or don't have any money to cover his rent. But at the same time, if there's 80% of employees today struggling on a specific aspect, that give at least information and tools for the employer to say, okay, what can I do to make the life of my employees better? That's where we'll have the capacity to cover everything else. And coming to that, so if you need to put money aside, you want to start investing in your 401k or RSP in Canada, that will be able to help you. And if you're part of the 80%, we'll refer to you to someone that's going to be able to support you. Once you acquire the product, we'll receive a referral revenue. So it's increasing also the revenue that we'll make because it's not only by selling our SaaS solution, it's also having the capacity to help each individual in their own specific ways. So that's why it's going to
Wonderful.
be incremental. The revenue will increase a lot. So we're expecting next year around $8 to $9 million of revenue, not only on SaaS, but also on those referral revenue that are huge. So, and it's going to scale afterwards. That's for sure.
From your mouth to God's ears, my friend. I love it, and I'm so incredibly impressed with like how you've built this journey. And as you can see, as it's built and built, now it just grows
Yeah.
exponentially. And that, by the way, for entrepreneurs watching, is the absolute perfect Trojan horse mentality to be able to get in to your consumers with the lowest cost of acquisition. You come in with the feature that is of most value at the beginning, and then you build on top of it products which make you absolutely bulletproof so nobody
Yeah.
ever can ever break in and take it over. Well done. Absolutely love it. Okay, last minute. Share with people obviously how they can find you. Share your email address so they can get your email address, and just tell people what you need. There's investors who listen to this, there are founders who are listening to this. What do you need and how can people support?
Yeah, two things. So coming back to our market today, we're in Canada, that's for sure. We're looking to hopefully deploy in the US at the end of this year, having conversation with partners over there. That could be insurers, could be employers. So because say we're selling directly to employers, but we're also trying to get other, I would say, way to attract or kind of get into the end of the employees. So if you are a partner providing solution or services to employers, or a financial institution trying to differentiate yourself by providing a service and solution to your own customer, also through your other partners that you've got, that's the type of partnership we're looking for. We're working today in Canada. We have brokers where we're working with Blue Cross, Medavi in Canada. They're providing our solution to their own customer, but looking into probably offer that at the end, hopefully at the end of this year, trying to package that in a well-being offer. Because say you're talking about well-being, it's true in the US. How can we make sure that say it's not only mental health issues, it's not only physical health issues, because one of the key cause of those issues are financial hopelessness. If you're say you're not seeing anything in front of you and you don't have any hope for your finance, it's going to affect your mental health, and it's going to also affect your physical health, because you won't be motivated to go to the gym because you're only seeing dark. So that's the reason why we're kind of, it's an holistic, I would say, system and an economy. So investors, that's for sure, trying to finalize our seed raise, but also partners and people that do believe in our vision and mission. And one thing just want to say, because I know that some of my teammates are assisting today, I would say I wouldn't be here without them. You're a huge part of my life as an entrepreneur, but as a company, and without your support and your belief in what we're going, I think we wouldn't be as successful as we're today. But you'll be part of a company that's going to have a success everywhere, and it's important for me.
It's a family, right?
Yeah, exactly. And I'm lucky because people could have way much bigger salary elsewhere, but some of them say we found our family, and that's where we want to continue. So I'm
That's what's good about the founder family is like they say you can't choose your family, but you actually can choose your startup family, which is what you've
yeah.
chosen, which is obviously why you're so proud of what you have. Eric, how can folks contact you?
Yeah, you can. I'm on LinkedIn, so you can reach out to me on LinkedIn. My email is eric.mcnichol@kaira.ai. That's me. Thanks. You want to have a conversation, a coffee, I believe, to give to the next. I'm supporting and working with others. So my goal is to make sure that I was lucky in my life, having people like you come in my life, but others I was kind of mentor and support. So hopefully I can do the same with the time I've got. But that's kind of my goal also. So
Okay, my friend. It's been a pleasure investing in you and speaking with you, and I'm dying to see what happens
thank
next. Well done on it all.
thank you for your constant support. It's always a pleasure talking with you, Barry. Thanks.